Archangel Michael froze when he heard their voice. What he knew about them you're not ready for. Open it now. It was not thunder, nor the clamor of angels in flight. It was a voice that pierced the veil between realms at the precise hour of 3:33 a.m., the hour heaven marks for unveiling, an hour when what is hidden becomes visible, when what is cloaked in charm is stripped of pretense. And at that moment, in the stillness of eternity, even Archangel Michael, commander of heaven's hosts, stood still. He did not freeze in fear. No, fear is not found in the DNA of the defender. Michael paused in divine discernment, for the voice that echoed through the dimensions carried a frequency unfamiliar, wrapped in layers of seduction, imitation, and spiritual corruption. The presence attached to the voice had been overlooked by most, yet it rang out with such weight that even heaven silenced itself to listen. There are messages spoken to the crowd, and then there are those encrypted into the soul. This message is not for the many. This word is not for those comfortable in the shallow end. This is for the fire-marked, the silence-trained, and the obedience-forged ones. This is for you. If you've felt the tension lately that your logic cannot name, if your peace has been disturbed without explanation, if your spirit has been heavy for no reason you can trace, this is your confirmation. Heaven knows what you brushed off. The divine has tracked what you tried to ignore. And Michael, warrior, guardian, revealer, heard something in that moment that you were never meant to hear yet. What was revealed in that voice? It wasn't just sound. It was intention. It was strategy. It was a blueprint of deception that carried your name on it, spoken from lips familiar, but forged in duplicity. You were never supposed to find this out yet, but grace has disrupted the delay. Heaven has fast-tracked your awareness, because the person in question, the one you thought was merely passing through, carries a shadow, not just a burden, a spiritual shadow sent to intercept you. Your life intersects with theirs for a reason, but not the one you assumed. Their presence was not sent to accompany you. It was sent to assess you. But Michael stood between you and that voice. And now, he speaks. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now surrounding you. He appeared in silence, not because he lacked words, but because the weight of what he had heard demanded stillness. Archangel Michael, the warrior of light, stood unmoved. He who commands legions, he who carries the flaming sword, he who guards the throne of heaven, did not strike, did not speak. You waited, because something had spoken in the realm of men, and what it said was not merely heard, it was felt in heaven. The voice you are about to recall, the one you dismissed as ordinary, was anything but. It wasn't your ears that first caught it, it was your spirit. And Michael knew it. He froze, not out of fear, but out of divine strategy. Because what was said carried a timing, a spiritual tone that had to be measured, dissected, and protected against. In the next 48 hours, you will sense their presence again. You whispers now, not with alarm, but with precision. The time window is opening. The next encounter hath been written in the spirit. Heaven has interrupted your ordinary rhythm because this moment, this divine hour, is anything but ordinary. You were never meant to move unaware. And so, Michael's silence was not delayed, it was designed. Because what appeared familiar is not. The one who came close, the one whose voice calmed you, or perhaps lured you, they are cloaked. Not in physical disguise, but spiritual deception. A coating so convincing, so familiar, so safe, that without discernment, you would have allowed them in again, deeper, closer, and right into the center of your spirit. This is not paranoia. This is prophetic precision. You're not being called to panic. You're being chosen to perceive. There is a divine alert rising in you, and it didn't start today. It started the moment that person spoke your name like they already knew it. The moment they laughed just a little too rehearsed. The moment your soul flinched, but you shrugged it off. That was the moment Michael heard and paused. Why did he pause? Because heaven is not reactive. It is exact. The silence of the Archangel was heaven's breath before divine judgment. And now that breath moves through your atmosphere, it is filling the places around you. You feel it in the stillness. You sense it in the tension. You hear it in the soft warnings echoing within your spirit, even when your mind can't catch the meaning. This message, beloved, is encrypted. It is not a general broadcast. It is spirit-coded. It will not land on every heart, only the ones marked with fire, silence, and obedience. That's why you're here. That's why you're still reading. That's why this message feels like it's crawling through your ribs and settling in your soul. Because something about that voice, the one Michael heard, is tied to your destiny. And yet, you were not supposed to hear it when he did. Not yet. But because your name is woven into this next season of spiritual war and divine reward, you have been granted early access. What Michael knew about them, heaven now whispers to you. Not to accuse you, but to arm you. The one you encountered, their assignment wasn't affection, it was observation. Their questions weren't curiosity, they were code. They came sounding safe, looking familiar, even carrying old memories like gifts. But heaven saw the undercurrent, and Michael's silence with the alarm. Because even angels don't war until they're sure, and now they're sure. You must now be still in the same way Michael was. Not passive. Position. Not doubtful, but discerning. You are not to engage as before. You are not to respond emotionally. You are not to reach for explanations or second chances. You are to wait, to listen, to trust the divine unfolding that has already begun. Because what was glow will be revealed. What was sweet will be sour. What was hidden will scream its true form before you, soon. Within the next 48 hours, the veil begins to tear, and Michael is no longer silent. He has drawn his sword, and the moment you discern who it is that carries that familiar voice, you will also realize why heaven had to wait until now to show you. This is not just a warning. This is a prophetic unlocking. Type I am anointed in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. They knew your name before you ever told them. Do you remember that? Do you remember how effortlessly they spoke it, as if your spirit had already introduced itself to them? That wasn't familiarity. That was spiritual reconnaissance. You thought it was just connection. You thought it was synchronicity. But heaven knows what it was, and Michael did too. It was premeditated. It was planted. And it was patterned. You didn't catch it then, but now, the questions they asked echo with different weight. The things they wanted to know felt harmless at first, but there were layers. Their inquiries were laced with motive. Their compliments carried tracking devices. They weren't just admiring, they were measuring you. They were calculating access. And your intuition, that quiet force inside your chest, knew something wasn't right. But you had no proof, no evidence, no voice for what your soul was screaming. So you stayed quiet, didn't you? You tried to push it down, spiritualizing the unease. You wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. But the Spirit never gave you peace. Heaven saw their intention before they ever stepped into your life. Heaven traced their steps. Heaven reviewed their rehearsals. While you only saw charm, charisma, chemistry, heaven saw corruption. You wanted to believe the best. But they didn't come to admire you. They came to imitate you. Or worse, to intercept what was meant for you. This is why the tension has been rising with no name. This is why your sleep hath been light, your spirit on edge. Your mind didn't catch it, but your soul was sounding alarms in the dark. That emotional arrest, that wave of irritability, the cloud of confusion, that agitation that shows up when they text, or call, or walk into the room, that was your discernment screaming. That was heaven saying, pay attention. They are not who they seem. You are not crazy. You are not overthinking. You are not broken. You are spiritually sensitive, and Michael has confirmed it. This person, this voice, it carries a shadow. And while others applaud their presence, heaven has blocked their promotion. You must understand this. Not everyone sent to watch you was sent by God. Some were sent as distractions. Some as spies. Some as familiar spirits assigned to study your movements, mimic your favor, and replicate your essence, because they cannot create, only copy. You have been studied, not out of admiration, but out of agenda. Michael heard what they said when you weren't around. Conversations behind closed doors. Words shared with others about you. Lies wrapped in concern. Manipulation disguised as worry. Control dressed up in care. But heaven does not slumber. The spirit realm has ears, and your name has been brought up in circles that had no right to mention you. But now, the tables are turning. God is uncovering what you were never supposed to overhear. This message is your eavesdrop into the spirit realm. And though it may feel unsettling, it is your deliverance. It is your exit point. Because until now, you were caught in the fog, sensing something was off, but not having language for it. But now you see. You're not paranoid. You're prophetic. And in case you needed heaven to validate your unrest, here it is. Michael froze when he heard them speak. And now you know why. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $10. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the Support Here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for exclusive prophetic updates, spiritual insights, and encouragement crafted just for your journey. Type "I'm awakening" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 777 is being released now. This is not about them. Yes, their voice disturbed the realm. Yes, their presence disrupted the atmosphere. Yes, their intentions triggered Michael's divine pause. But make no mistake, this entire moment, this confrontation, this divine exposure, it is not about them. It is about you. Because the greater the assignment, the higher the surveillance. You are being observed not for attack, but for awakening. You are being tested not for punishment, but for promotion. This spiritual conflict is the result of the weight you carry, the oil on your life, the mantle that can no longer be hidden under normalcy. The opposition you're facing is the spiritual confirmation of your elevation. You've been asking why it hurts like this. Why now? Why them? Why here? And heaven answers, because you've crossed over into territory that your enemies were hoping you'd never step into. When Michael paused, it wasn't weakness. It was warfare strategy. It was heaven saying, something unclean just stepped into a consecrated space. Your space, your mind, your energy, your environment. They carried the stain of something ancient, envy, mimicry, subtle manipulation, and it slipped in undetected. But not by Michael, because heaven watches over holy ground, and you, whether you feel holy or not, are marked ground. Sacred space. You are under spiritual surveillance, not to be attacked, but to be protected. What you thought was random conflict was really spiritual insulation. God hath been placing barriers between you and the wrong voices, but you kept reopening doors out of mercy, nostalgia, or obligation. Not anymore. Heaven has drawn the line now, and it was drawn with fire. This conflict is not personal, it is positional. The attacks come because of where you sit in the spirit. You carry answers others are searching for. You release peace others are trying to counterfeit. You radiate what they're trying to steal and bottle. And because they cannot create it, they try to control you. But your restraint hath been your strategy. You wanted to respond, confront, scream, prove. But something in you held back. That was not weakness, that was wisdom. Heaven has recorded your silence as righteousness. And the battle you refused to fight in your flesh, heaven is now fighting in the spirit. God is not exposing this to humiliate you. He is exposing it to elevate you. You have outgrown the traps, the tricks, the tantrums of the enemy. And now, you're being taught how to discern war without becoming wounded. You're being trained to walk among serpents and never get bit. You're being transformed into one who can detect poison even when it's poured in a golden cup. What you felt as emotional instability was actually spiritual radar. You were scanning the realm, and your radar lit up. Because the enemy got too close. Heaven is not just fighting for you. It is teaching through you. And the discernment you're gaining now will become someone else's lifeline later. This isn't a season of breakdown. It's your divine build-up. The voice that tried to shake you has only sharpened you. And now, Michael stands again, no longer silent. Type I am armored in the comments if you feel this alignment. Lesson code 333 is resting on your home now. There is a tremble in the spirit realm. A dying. A pressure. You've likely felt it already. The subtle anxiety, the quickened breath, the unexplained unease that rises and falls like a tide, but leaves no evidence. That's not your imagination. That's the spiritual atmosphere compressing. Something is shifting around you. Something has been planned. And heaven wants you to know, the next 3 days are marked. You are walking into a spiritual zone that demands alertness, not fear, not paranoia, but clarity. You must understand the weight of what is forming behind closed doors. Conversations have begun. Not casual, not careless, but intentional. Someone is invoking your name in a room they should never have access to. Your name, your energy, your history, your movements, all being dissected, rehearsed, reimagined, and reinserted into narratives that don't belong to you anymore. Archangel Michael has intercepted it. He's already stood at the edge of the dialogue, sword drawn, wings expanded, listening as your name was handled like a weapon. And the most dangerous part, this isn't loud opposition. This is strategic interference. It is subtle. It is veiled. It sounds like reconciliation. It looks like reunion. But it is resistance in disguise. The plan has been set. And the one who Michael heard, they are preparing to re-enter your life in some form, a message, a pop-up, a call, an emotional confession, a sudden crisis that needs your help. It will appear noble. It will appeal to your compassion. It will reach for your empathy. But it is not divine. It is deliberate. A strategy designed to shake your foundation, fracture your focus, and reroute your rising. This is why heaven says, "Be still." You are not to react emotionally. You are not to explain your absence, justify your distance, or engage the bait, because your emotional reaction would empower their entrance. And heaven is standing between you and that door right now. The next 72 hours are not for back and forth texts. They are not for responding to old wounds with fresh vulnerability. They are not for appeasing those who never honored your presence in the first place. They are for silence, because silence is not your retreat. It is your repositioning. There is a holy confusion being sent to the enemy's camp. And every time you hold your tongue, every time you sit in stillness, every time you reject the urge to re-explain your deliverance, heaven is disarming their weapons. You're being prepared quickly now. Heaven isn't waiting for your feelings to catch up. There is urgency in the realm of spirit. Michael did not wait to see if you'd understand. He stood on guard. And now you must do the same. This is not just about discernment. It's about alignment. What's trying to return to you is not revival. It's regression. It's dressed differently, yes. But the core is the same. The cycle is the same. The exhaustion it brings is the same. And you, child of God, have come too far, grown too strong, and paid too high a price to spiral backward. Stand firm. Do not entertain familiarity at the cost of your future. The voice that Michael heard, it wasn't just a sound. It was a signal. A dark one. A strategic one. And now you know. Now you've been warned. Now you are armed. Be still, and let heaven handle the rest. Type "I choose silence" in the comments to block every spiritual interference. Blessing code 1212 is activating around your home. This is not a retreat. This is a divine repositioning. You have not been pulled back to be punished. You are not being hidden because you are weak. You are being withheld because the environment is not worthy. You are being covered because the storm is too loud to speak truth into. You are being rerouted, not because you failed, but because heaven refuses to let what is sacred be contaminated. This is your moment of withdrawal, not as a step back, but as a climb upward. Heaven is lifting you from the noise, from the false familiarity, from the distraction masquerading as destiny. You are not running, you are riding. You are not isolating, you are insulating. Archangel Michael has drawn a line in the spirit, and that line cannot be crossed. Not unless you lower your guard. Not unless you emotionally reopen what heaven has sealed shut. The angels have been dispatched around you. They are not sent for show. They are sent for shielding. But even angels honor your choices. And if you speak too freely, share too vulnerably, or move too quickly, you will open gates that God has shut with fire. So now, be still. Speak less. Watch more. You are not to explain your silence. You are not to justify your peace. You are not obligated to revisit the past simply because it knocks again. What once called you is no longer allowed to claim you. And your stillness is the declaration that you know who you are now. Heaven is louder when you are quieter. There is clarity in this calm. There is protection in this pause. The Lord has not abandoned you. He is surrounding you. And if it feels like no one is reaching out, like doors are temporarily shut, like familiar voices have gone silent, it is because God has placed His silence around you as a fortress, Not everyone can reach you in this season. Not everyone should. This is your anointed quarantine, not from people, but from pollution. Guard your energy, not out of fear, but out of revelation. The presence you carry is holy. The future ahead of you is heavy, and the enemy's only hope is to distract you long enough to delay it. But you've seen too much now. You've heard too clearly. Michael paused for a reason, and now you must wait with heaven. Don't argue. Don't clarify. Don't prove anything. Just discern. Say these words aloud, in your spirit or your voice. Heaven fights while I wait. Because that's exactly what is happening. You are not being lazy. You are not being passive. You are letting heaven fight battles your heart would only complicate. Let Michael swing the sword. Let the angels block the entrance. Let God shield you in silence. This moment, this stillness, is not punishment. It's protection. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are being hidden under divine wing for just a little while longer. Because when you rise again, and you will, the ones who tried to intercept you will no longer recognize you. They'll speak your name, but it will no longer match your elevation. You shifted. You sharpened. You survived. Now rest in God's cover. Type I am hidden in the comments if this is your word. Blessing code 1441 has now sealed your protection. You mistaken your sensitivity for weakness. But hear this now. What made Michael pause has made you rise. The same spirit that stirred the Archangel into discernment is the same spirit that now calls you into power. You are not fragile. You are freed. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. For too long, you believed that your tears were signs of vulnerability. You thought the weight on your chest meant defeat. You assumed that the way your heart trembled was a mark of brokenness. But beloved, the truth is far more glorious. The tears were evidence of transformation. The trembling was the vibration of spiritual strength being activated. And what you thought was a breakdown was a birthing. The person who triggered the season, the one whose voice disturbed the spirit realm, did not come to strengthen you. But heaven used their presence to awaken what had been dormant inside you. Your presence wasn't the source of your power, but it was a pressure that revealed it. What Michael froze at, you are rising above. Not just surviving it, rising through it. They thought they knew you. They thought they could predict you, manipulate you, contain you. But what they didn't see was what heaven had been doing in you in silence. Because while they studied your past, God was shaping your future. While they rehearsed old conversations, you were being redefined in private. You are not who they remember. The fire in you didn't begin with them, and it won't end with them. You have changed, and not in small ways. The level of awareness you now carry has cost you your comfort. The discernment you now walk in has cost you relationships. The authority you now release has cost you isolation. But the price has been paid, and now the oil flows freely. You're not running. Not from pain. Not from confrontation. Not from your calling. No, you're rising. You are being elevated without announcement. You are being promoted without platform. You are stepping into a realm of favor that will make those who studied you confused, because the version of you they investigated no longer exists. Heaven has transformed you in secret. You've been hidden in the cleft of the rock, being reshaped. While others chased attention, you were surrendering in silence. And now, the Lord says, you are ready. Not ready to retaliate. Not ready to prove. Ready to walk above it. You have been refined by fire. You burn silently, and yet that fire is spreading. People around you are starting to notice. Atmospheres shift when you speak now. Demons tremble when you pray now. Chains break when you worship now. Why? Because what was meant to destroy you has instead defined you. You are no longer begging for clarity. You are no longer pleading for validation. You carry the revelation that heaven whispered to you in the dark. You are chosen. You are marked. You are trusted. Let this be your reminder. You did not die in that last season. You were developed. And now, heaven is revealing how strong you've become. What Michael witnessed in that moment of divine silence has now been translated into your new strength. They triggered something, yes, but God finished the transformation. This isn't exposure for pain. It's revelation for promotion. You were forged in fire, and now you move in full authority. Type "I am rising" in the comments to confirm your spiritual elevation. Blessing code 1555 is now active over your path. Heaven never reveals without purpose. When Michael heard that voice, the one that disrupted realms, the one that cracked the silence of the third watch, he didn't just hear words. He heard assignment. He discerned agenda. And in that moment, the voice wasn't just speaking. It was exposing itself. That person, the one who now lingers in your thoughts, whose sudden presence or memory feels unnerving, they were sent. Not by God, but by a shadow. Their timing was not random. Their arrival, their reconnection, their sudden interest, it was not coincidence. It was calculated. Because just as heaven prepares people for purpose, the enemy also sends agents to derail destiny. Michael heard their voice not because it was loud, but because it was aligned with interference. And now you know why your life has felt disrupted, uncertain, heavy. Your entrance wasn't about love. It wasn't about friendship. It wasn't even about closure. It was an attempt to sabotage your next assignment. But here is the revelation. Their interference triggered your activation. Heaven permitted the confrontation so it could unlock the next level in you. The pressure of their presence caused the file shell of your old self to break. And now, in the fragments of what they tried to shake, you stand revealed. The version of you that could be manipulated, gone. The version of you that craved their approval, gone. The version of you that settled for false comfort, destroyed. This prophetic moment is not about them. It is about what you are stepping into. Michael's pause was the precursor. But now, the motion has begun. The scroll of destiny is open. The shift has occurred. You are now in a transition that cannot be reversed. You are walking in spiritual elevation, and the enemy's plan to derail you has been shattered by your discernment and your silence. They thought their voice would disarm you. What it awakened you. They thought their presence would pull you back, but it pushed you forward. They thought they could still reach you. But what Michael knew, and what you are now realizing, is this. You have outgrown their reach. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, you have ascended. And the spiritual ceiling they once placed over your life has cracked. You are no longer bound by their expectation, their version of you, their access to your heart. Heaven has revealed. This confrontation had to happen now. Because had it waited, you might have carried them into the next level. And the next level cannot afford contamination. You've been released. And now blessings await. Open doors. Supernatural favor. Divine appointments. Restoration in place of betrayal. Honor in place of harm. Clarity in place of confusion. This is your release moment. This is your revelation season. This is where you don't just see what they are, you see who you've become. Archangel Michael heard it before you did. But now, the heavens have aligned to show you in real time. You were never supposed to stay at their level. You were destined to rise. And now, nothing can hold you back. If this message is awakening something in you, and you'd like to support the release of more content like this, consider sending a super thanks. Even a gift of $5 or $20 makes a huge difference. Your support fuels every word and every revelation shared. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for weekly prophetic insights, spiritual teachings, and divine direction tailored to your journey. Type "I am revealed" in the comments if this word confirms your release. Blessing code 1616 now governs your transition. Say this right now. I accept the shift. I welcome the change. Because something is being unlocked in this very moment. Not just a feeling, not just a word, a destiny scroll is unrolling in the spirit. And your agreement, your surrender, your declaration is the key that opens the next door. You don't need to push it. You don't need to force it. You just need to say yes. Archangel Michael has been standing guard, not just to protect you from harm, but to usher you into purpose. This is not just about survival. This is about activation. You have arrived at the spiritual intersection of revelation and responsibility. A moment where what was once hidden becomes visible. A moment when delay turns into destiny. A moment when your almost becomes now. Do not delay heaven's timing. Do not overthink the invitation. The enemy would love for you to hesitate, to second-guess yourself, to hold back, to revisit old voices that kept you small. But you already know this isn't the time to shrink. This is the hour of movement. Say it again. I accept the shift. I welcome the change. That person, the one whose voice Michael froze at, their interference was not only an assignment of dissection, it was also a divine alarm. A signal that the time had come to separate what was from what shall be. They served as the final checkpoint, the last test. And now that you have seen clearly, now that your spirit has discerned what your soul once wrestled with, the door has begun to open. But hear this. This is not just any door. This is the scroll door. This is the alignment of identity, timing, and favor. What heaven wrote over you before your first breath is now being downloaded into your spirit. You're not being asked to perform. You're being asked to say yes. That yes activates angelic motion. That yes releases instructions. That yes changes everything. Because what tried to return to you recently, what came back looking familiar, sounding kind, even speaking repentance, was not revival. It was resistance. A spiritual mimicry crafted to distract you just long enough to miss your opening. But God intervened. He let Michael pause. And in that pause, your discernment was refined. You didn't take the bait. You didn't reopen the cycle. And that, beloved, has marked you as ready. Ready for what? For destiny. For clarity. For supernatural alignment. For divine acceleration. For the restoration of years stolen in confusion. For the placement into rooms that were closed to you before. For the unfolding of dreams you buried too long ago. The veil has been torn. The time is now. You have passed the test of spirit, not by fighting but by recognizing. You must not allow fear to attach itself to this transition. The unknown is not danger, it is destiny. Walk forward. Let heaven move with you. Trust the tension. It was never meant to crush you, it was meant to position you. This isn't about ego. This is about elevation. This isn't just about breakthrough. This is about birthing the assignment within you. Say it one more time with power. I accept the shift. I welcome the change. Now the heavens are in motion. Now the scroll has turned. Now the angel armies are moving on your behalf. Not because you forced it, but because you surrendered to it. You are walking into your next, and the voice that tried to delay you has no jurisdiction over where you are going. Type ISAYYES in the comments to release your scroll. Blessing code 1221 is now lighting your path. While you were wrestling with questions, heaven was already making moves. While your emotions swayed back and forth between hope and hesitation, the spirit realm was engaged in sacred negotiations. And while you laid awake wondering why it all felt so heavy, angels were in motion. Michael wasn't just listening, he was intercepting. Understand this. Not everything lost was defeat. Some losses were strategic withdrawals. What looked like rejection was actually redirection. What felt like abandonment was really an angel's hand pulling you out before destruction reached you. There has been a silent exchange happening. Not announced. Not posted. Not even felt in full. But divinely arranged. What was stolen is being returned. Not always in the form you expected, but in value, in vision, in vindication. Heaven has been in deliberation over your name. Your silence became a signature. The restraint you showed. It closed the case in your favor. Michael didn't just stand still for dramatic effect. He stood between what was being said and what could have landed. He became the wall, the block, the breaker, a defender. And in doing so, he altered the trajectory of what was being sent against you. Because in the realm of the spirit, your silence wasn't empty. It was a legal trade. Every moment you didn't clap back, every time you didn't explain, every day you didn't run after false validation, your spirit was exchanging offense for inheritance. Yes, inheritance. What you didn't say became the down payment on what heaven is now releasing. There are doors opening now that no man can shut. There are agreements being made in realms you cannot see. There are angels walking into rooms you'll enter next month, next year, next decade, preparing seats for you before you even arrive. Why? Because your spirit agreed with heaven, even when your flesh didn't understand. You didn't lose, you were repositioned. And this repositioning has placed you in front of doors you didn't even know to knock on. Your name is being brought up right now, but not by the one who meant harm. Your name is on the lips of those who were instructed by God to bless you, cover you, and align with your future. This is the power of divine silence. There are contracts being written in your favor. There are debts being canceled in your bloodline. There are old cycles being dismantled without you even speaking a word. Because heaven rewrites narratives in silence. The courtroom of the divine does not operate in noise. It listens to restraint. It weighs patience. It watches posture. And yours has passed every test. Now comes the exchange. Vigor for frustration. Joy for grief. Purpose for pain. Strategy for silence. Legacy for loss. You're not just recovering. You're reclaiming. The narrative is shifting. And the silence you endured has shouted louder than any voice raised against you. The person who tried to manipulate the spiritual realm by speaking your name thought their voice held power. But what they didn't know is that heaven was already rewriting the story, and your silence became your statement. Michael did not just guard. He sealed the exchange. And now the deal is done. Type "I receive the exchange" in the comments if this word settles in your spirit. Blessing code 999 is now finalizing what was once delayed. The court of heaven has ruled. The words spoken in the dark, the whispers carried in secret, the false agreements made in corners never meant to see the light, all of it has now come under divine judgment. And make no mistake, Archangel Michael did not pause just to listen. He paused to record. He paused to gather evidence. He paused to set the stage for reversal. Every lie spoken against your name is now being weighed. Every manipulation is being measured. Every twisted conversation, every false narrative, every deceptive intention is being brought before the divine council, and heaven does not forget. Justice delayed is none justice denied. And now, the scales are tipping in your favor. There are those who thought they could handle your name lightly. There are those who tried to use spiritual language to cover carnal agendas. There are those who underestimated the weight of what you carry. But what they failed to realize is this: when your name is written in heaven, heaven defends it. Michael's silence was not indecision, it was judgment withheld until the fullness of exposure. But now, the sword has fallen. The decree is in force. And what they intended for your derailment is returning to them with sevenfold force. Not because you cursed them, not because you retaliated, but because heaven will not allow what is holy to be mishandled without consequence. You've been vindicated, not just emotionally, not just publicly, but spiritually. God has ruled on your behalf. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to chase an apology. You don't need to demand closure. Justice has already spoken. And what about the plans that were made in secret? What about the traps they set? What about the manipulation they thought you didn't see? Heaven has dismantled every one of them. The person who once walked freely through your gates now finds themselves blocked. Not by your bitterness, but by your spiritual devolution. Because you shifted. You've ascended. You no longer sit in the courts of petty conversation or emotional exhaustion. You've entered the throne room of alignment, clarity, and consecration. And in that room, God Himself has declared your name clean. What they tried to tarnish is now being restored. Not in theory, in evidence. Opportunities are being returned. Relationships are being realigned. Honor is being reinstated. And most importantly, your name has been removed from their strategy completely. They no longer have spiritual access. Their words have no weight in your atmosphere. Their voice has been revoked. Michael stands with sword drawn, not to defend but to seal. The judgment is final. The consequence is divine. And the result is irreversible. You don't need to witness their downfall. You don't need to pray for their punishment. What you're being invited into is release. Because God has already issued reversal. And that's enough. And now your focus must be forward. Because the very places that were once closed to you are about to open with urgency. You'll be remembered by those who once overlooked you. You'll be honored by those who didn't know how to carry you. You'll be lifted in places where you were once buried. The season of reversal has begun. And it carries the signature from heaven: touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. The one who thought they could speak casually about what heaven ordained is now standing in silence. The same silence they once caused you. But this time, the silence is not yours. It's theirs. Because heaven has shut it down. You are being restored, mind, name, destiny, and spirit. And what was sent to break you has become the very force that heaven used to build you. If this message confirms the justice of God in your life, and you'd like to stand with this mission, consider showing your support with a super thanks or super chat. A gift of $10 or $20 helps keep these messages flowing with power and prophetic clarity. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Be sure to subscribe now for ongoing insight, divine encouragement, and spiritual empowerment on your journey. Type "I receive divine justice" in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 1818 is now operating in your bloodline. Now hear this clearly. You are protected, positioned, and prepared. What was once hidden in the shadows has been brought to light. What once caused confusion has now produced clarity. And what once delayed your movement has now defined your momentum. The same Archangel who once stood in silence now stands with his sword drawn, defending the gates of your next season. You are not walking into your future alone. Heaven is surrounding you. The winds of reversal have already begun to blow. And now, the fire of divine protection lights the path before your feet. This is not just a season of freedom. This is a season of sealing. You are being sealed. Mind, heart, and purpose for what lies ahead. Every word spoken against your spirit has been rendered null. Every attempt to delay you has only further confirmed your divine timing. The voice that once disturbed your sleep has now awakened your strength. So let this be your affirmation. I am seen. I am called. I am covered. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where heaven designed you to be in this moment. The shifts you've endured were not without purpose. The stillness you obeyed was not without result. The silence you carried was not empty. It was saturated with spiritual authority. You are rising now, not because you fought harder, but because you surrendered deeper. Let the final blessing rest upon you now. May your path be clear. May your name be preserved. May your spirit be sealed in holy fire. May your yes echo into eternity. May your strength never again be drained by the wrong voice. May your anointing be untouchable, and your alignment undeniable. May the peace of heaven sit upon your shoulders, and the authority of the kingdom walk in your every step. The time of confusion has ended. The time of revelation has begun. You are seen. You are chosen. You are covered. Now rise, heaven has already spoken. Type "I am sealed" in the comments to lock this word into your life. Blessing code 2020 is resting over your next season.